Welcome. Today we're doing a deep dive into, well, one of history's really brutal and complex conflicts.
Mm.
The Siege of Antioch during the First Crusade. Just try and picture it. An army, hundreds, maybe thousands of miles from home. They're facing hunger, disease, these bitter internal rivalries.
Yeah.
And then, just when things seem like they can't get worse, they find themselves besieged by an even bigger enemy force.
It's quite the scenario. And this isn't just like dry military history. It's intensely human. Desperation, betrayal. Moments where faith and manipulation get really blurred.
Exactly. So today, our mission is really to unpack this fascinating account we've got. It takes you right into the heart of this crucible.
We'll be exploring the raw realities the Crusaders faced, the kind of intricate political games their leaders were playing.
And this dark hidden mystery that honestly threatened to just tear them apart from the inside.
Right. And hopefully you'll get a really vivid understanding of how these desperate conditions, well, they forged some very unexpected alliances, twisted beliefs.
And led to an outcome that, frankly, even modern historians kind of struggle to fully explain. And we've got a stack of sources to guide us, detailed accounts, some really surprising personal confessions mixed in there.
Yeah, we'll be pulling out the key bits, helping you connect the dots, hopefully leading to some of those aha moments.
So, okay, where do we start? To really get a grip on this siege, what's the first thing we need to understand?
Well, first, you got to remember their initial success. The First Crusade, it kind of swept into Asia Minor, May 1097, took Nicaea, won at Dorylaeum.
Right after they'd sworn oaths to the Byzantine emperor.
Exactly. They opened the road south, basically, marched nearly 1,000 miles across Anatolia. Heat, hunger, fighting, they seemed unstoppable.
Then, Antioch. That momentum just vanishes.
It's a brick wall. Literally. They get stuck outside Antioch. The sources call the Turkish garrison all but impregnable.
And winter sets in. Rain, disease, starvation, constant battles. By February 1098, they've been there 9 brutal months. No real progress. What did that sudden halt, that long stalemate, what did it really show about their whole campaign?
It showed that just having religious zeal and winning a few early battles wasn't enough. Not for this.
Right.
They were just not prepared for a long, grinding siege against a really, really strong defense like Antioch's. That initial sweep, it gave them a false sense of security, maybe.
And Antioch just stripped that away, exposed all their weaknesses.
Yeah. Physical weaknesses, strategic weaknesses.
And spiritual ones too, right?
Ah.
I mean, the source paints this incredibly grim picture of the army of God.
Oh, yeah. Not a divine host, but wasted survivors. A rabble. Their eyes filled only with suffering.
Skins and clothes stained and torn. They staggered rather than marched. Just awful.
But still carrying crosses. Wood, iron, bits of cloth sewn on.
Or even carved or burned into their skin. That's intense.
It is. It tells you they were physically shattered, but clinging desperately to their faith. Almost violently.
It's such a stark contrast, isn't it? The idea of the army of God versus this suffering reality.
It really highlights how extreme things were, driving them to find meaning even in, well, self-mutilation. An army on the edge, but still driven by something profound or desperate.
And that desperation, it must have poured fuel on the internal fires, right? The rivalries were already there.
Absolutely. You had the Provençal from southern France, the Germans, the Normans from Sicily and Normandy, even the Byzantine Greeks they were supposedly allied with.
And the source says the fractious princes grew jealous of each other's ambitions.
While the ordinary soldiers seethed at the failure of their leaders to get them out of this mess.
So how much of that was just the terrible conditions and how much was like baked in from the start with these different groups?
Well, it's both, really. The conditions definitely made it worse. Push all those existing tensions right to the surface.
Yeah.
I mean, these are feudal lords. They all have their own goals, their own followers. United loosely by religion, sure, but
when the going gets tough.
Exactly. The long, pointless siege just brought out all the competing ambitions. Who gets what? Especially when the shared enemy, the Turks inside Antioch, wasn't enough to keep them focused together. It was a ticking time bomb.
And the city itself, formidable, doesn't quite cover it, does it? Impregnable walls, Mount Silpius looming behind.
Like a giant fist, yeah. And their camp, stuck on marshy ground. Barely beyond bowshot, the source says.
Just staring at those walls for months, waiting for the Turks to starve. while they starve themselves. It feels hopeless.
It was a terrible tactical position. The march made siege engines hard to use. Being in bowshot meant constant attacks.
And the walls themselves.
Just too strong for a direct assault. So they were forced into a siege of attrition, basically trying to starve the city out.
Yeah.
But they were starving faster.
It's like the city's defenses played right into their biggest weaknesses.
Precisely. Logistics, unity.
Yeah.
They had problems with both.
Reading through the sources, one detail really stood out. It's pretty gruesome. After a Turkish attack on a foraging party, the Crusaders, well, they started digging up fresh Turkish graves.
Oh, right. To use the earth and stone.
To build siege towers. One character even says, this is no way to wage a war, making a quarry of their cemetery.
And the foundations of their fortress from enemy tombs, yeah.
And then the Normans are collecting severed heads from these corpses as trophies. What does that level of desperation tell us?
It tells us conventional warfare had completely broken down. They were violating sacred boundaries, blurring lines between survival and, well, sacrilege.
Just pushed to the absolute limit.
Where even basic rules, basic decency just went out the window. It's a sign of utter desperation.
And the Turks weren't just sitting back, were they? They were skilled fighters.
Highly skilled. That cavalry retreat drill you mentioned.
Where they shoot backwards at full gallop.
Exactly. Dropping reins, twisting, firing, all without slowing down. Very sophisticated tactic.
Compared to the Franks,
whose approach was often, let's say, less coordinated, more brute force. And the Turks showed no mercy. No ransom for captured Crusaders.
So the Crusaders were often outfought, outmaneuvered by an enemy who knew the terrain and their tactics better.
Definitely. Which adds another layer to their struggle.
Okay, so in this cauldron of war, starvation, division, a new thread emerges, a really unsettling one.
The murder mystery.
Yeah. We meet Demetrios, a Greek scribe working for the Byzantine general, Tatikios, and Demetrios finds the body. Drogo of Melfi, a Norman knight serving Beaumont.
Throat cut savagely, but no sign of a struggle, purse untouched, not a robbery.
So why is this one knight's death such a big deal for Beaumont, more than just losing a soldier?
Oh, it's a huge threat in that atmosphere, with all the factions hating each other.
It could ignite anything.
Exactly. Beaumont sees it immediately. This could be blamed on the Provençals or anyone. It could spark open fighting right there in the camp.
So he needs answers, fast, not just for justice.
But to stop the whole army imploding, he tasks Demetrios, the Greek scribe, maybe because he's seen as more neutral.
Interesting. So even one murder could unravel everything because they were already so close to the edge.
Precisely. And this whole thing plays out against this backdrop of, well, intense political maneuvering.
Right. Tatikios, the Byzantine general, he's furious with the Franks. Their arrogance and insolence.
He's writing back to Emperor Alexios, saying they're talking openly about breaking their oaths, keeping Byzantine lands for themselves.
Pleading, hasten to our aid.
Yeah.
Basically asking the emperor to come take charge.
What Alexios? He's playing a different game. Very calculated, very pragmatic.
Let the Franks fight the Turks. If they win and keep their word, great. Byzantium gains territory. If they fail...
He bears no blame. His line is brilliant. When you make allies of your enemies, every battle is a victory.
Wow. Ruthless.
Strategic. And Demetrios, our investigator, he's caught in the middle. He was sent with Tatikios specifically to report back all you see, because Alexios sees the Franks as wild dogs who might just turn on him.
So there's this deep mistrust underpinning the whole alliance.
Absolutely crucial to remember that.
And these tensions, they just erupt in that council meeting, don't they? All the big Frankish leaders.
Count Raymond of Saint-Gilles, the Provençal, wealthy, one-eyed, hates Bohemond.
Hugh the Great, Duke Godfrey.
Yeah.
And Beaumont himself, of course.
But the real quiet power, according to the source, is Bishop Adhemar of Le Puy, the papal legate. His voice is first and also often the last, even though he has no army.
And the clash is immediate. Bohemond wants Antioch as fair spoils for whoever takes it.
While Raymond is furious, insisting they stick to the oath. Give it back to the emperor.
Bohemond's reply is just dripping with contempt, isn't it? When the Greek king comes in person to share our sufferings, then perhaps he will earn the honoring of my promise.
It lays bare the conflict. Is this about conquest and personal gain, like for Bohemond? Or is it a divine mission with sworn oaths, like for Raymond and Adhemar?
Different visions of the whole crusade.
Competing visions right there in that tent.
And circling back to Emperor Alexios' advice, learn their ways, their feuds, and exploit them. He knew the Turks weren't monolithic.
Yes, he mentioned the many tribes and factions among the Ishmaelites, Turks, Arabs, different groups.
How much did the Crusaders' ignorance of those divisions hurt them? Strategically.
Immensely. It was a huge blind spot. They tended to lump all Muslims together.
Didn't understand the Sunni-Shia split or the local rivalries.
Exactly. Which, ironically, the very person Demetrios is hunting does understand and uses against them. The emperor's advice was spot on, but the Franks mostly ignored it.
So Demetrios digs deeper into Drogo's murder, and he finds out about this mark.
Right, a secret mark on Drogo's forehead, a Latin sigma, and a similar cross mark on his back.
And then he finds out Renaud, Drogo's missing Provençal friend, had the same mark.
Ding, ding, ding. Suddenly, this isn't just a random killing.
No, it points to something organized, secret.
A conspiracy right inside the army.
This mark leads him to Peter Bartholomew, a Frankish pilgrim.
Who also has the mark.
And Peter reveals this fellowship of purity, a secret brotherhood.
Meeting in secret. Why? Because they believe the main army of God has become corrupted.
Their leaders have forgotten Christ. God has deserted them because of sin and blasphemy.
It shows this deep spiritual crisis gripping the army, doesn't it? When the official structures seem to be failing, people look elsewhere.
A profound disillusionment makes them vulnerable.
Extremely vulnerable to alternative beliefs or manipulation. They wanted answers for their suffering. This group offered one.
Then there's Drogo's servant, Simon. He nervously mentions a place called Daphne.
The House of the Sun, where Drogo and his friends went, and where Simon says anger arose among them.
So Demetrios and his companion, Sigurd the Varangian Guard, they go check out Daphne. What do they find?
Ancient ruins. Engravings of two suns, a mosaic of Phoebus Apollo pagan stuff.
Okay.
But deeper inside, a cave, carved benches, weird, faded paintings of beast-headed men, insects, and an altar.
An altar. Okay, this is getting strange. And what did Sigurd find there? Because this changes everything, right?
It absolutely reframes it. Sigurd finds a cloven hoof.
A hoof?
Yeah, leading to the horrible realization that Drogo and his group weren't just having secret meetings, they were doing rituals. A sacrifice, maybe? A bullock sacrifice.
Whoa. Okay, so this isn't just a secret Christian sect. This is something else entirely.
Something pagan. Or worse, their desperation drove them to rituals that completely contradicted the whole point of the crusade.
And the link comes, surprisingly, from Bishop Adhemar. He quotes Tertullian.
The devil, too, baptizes his unbelievers. And crucially, there in the kingdom of Satan, Mithra sets his mark on the foreheads of his soldiers.
Mithra. So Adhemar connects the mark directly to Mithraism, a pagan cult linked to Satan in their eye.
Exactly. It moves it from just secret group to heresy. Adhemar recognizes the signs. This is a spiritual threat to the whole enterprise.
And just as things get weirder, a new player emerges. Mushid the swordsmith.
A Saracen. Seems neutral at first, but he knows things.
He has this incredible understanding of the divisions within the Muslim world, doesn't he? Turks, Arabs, Egyptians, Persians, Sunni versus Shia.
Sunni versus Shiite Ali, yeah. He contrasts their complex situation with the Franks' total ignorance.
Which tells you
that while the Franks are lost in their own squabbles and see one big enemy, Mushid sees all the fault lines and knows how to use them.
What?
He's smart. Dangerously smart.
And then the confessions start. And they're brutal. Simon the servant.
Found dead. Shot with arrows by the river. After hinting that Kino, one of Drogo's group, wanted secrets kept.
Then Demetrios finds Odard, another companion. He's in a camp of Kafirs, those extreme Christian zealots, and he's completely lost his mind.
Right. Before he dies, Odard blames an Ishmaelite, the swordsmith. Says Mushid made him lose his soul, led him into sin and idolatry.
And claimed Mushid knew our sins and threatened them with hellfire if they talked.
Then Kino, wounded in battle, confesses to Demetrios. He admits he killed Simon. Feared Simon would reveal their heresy. He says Drogo was initially an obedient adept of some priestess named Sarah, but Drogo tired of her religion soonest, after being scarred with their cross.
But Quino also implicates Mushid.
Yes. Says he was led into sin and idolatry by the swordsmith, calls him Ahriman or Mithra, the devil, basically, or the pagan god.
Each confession points fingers, layers of manipulation, all leading back to Mushid. But the real shocker comes from Bishop Adhemar on his deathbed.
Yeah, this is huge. Adhemar confesses he actually saw Drogo murder Renaud in that dell.
He witnessed it.
Witnessed it, and then saw the Saracen Mushid take Renaud's body away, leaving Drogo there.
Wait, so Mushid didn't kill Renaud, Drogo did. But Mushid was involved. How does that fit?
It reveals Mushid as the puppet master. He confirms later that he had Drogo lure Renaud there and kill him. Why? To test his loyalty.
My God, so the ritual, the brotherhood, it was all orchestrated by Mushid.
To manipulate them. twisting their spiritual crisis into a murderous loyalty test for his own ends. The real threat wasn't just starvation, it was this engineered moral corruption from inside.
So Demetrios finally confronts Mushid. And he admits it.
He does. Admits he invented the ritual in the cave, called it a device, a step on the journey, for Drogo and the others to abandon the false god of the Christians, to cross a chasm into some new knowledge.
But he denies killing Drogo himself.
Correct. But his role as the manipulator, the architect of this whole heretical plot using their desperation, is undeniable. It's chillingly effective psychological warfare.
Incredible. And all this is happening just as Kerboga's massive relief army is bearing down on Antioch.
The timing couldn't be worse. Or for Beaumont, maybe better.
Right. He uses the fear, the impending doom, to finally force the issue with the other princes.
Gets them to agree. Whoever takes the city, he alone will rule it.
He seizes that moment of absolute desperation to get what he wanted all along.
The external threat finally overrides the internal squabbles, at least long enough for Bohemond to make his move. Pragmatism wins. Or ambition.
And the betrayal that lets him take the city comes quickly. Firuz,
The Turkish watchman, Bohemond's collaborator, lets a small group of Normans in through secret paths on the mountain.
and Antioch falls, June 3rd, 1098, just 2 days before Kerboga's main army arrives. Talk about cutting it fine.
Incredibly fine, and the aftermath inside the city is just horrific.
The source says the Franks exploded into the city like a vessel of flaming oil. Slaughter, plunder.
Your Tarnal house. Order was hateful, confusion master. Most of the killing done by the afternoon. Just brutal.
A grim picture of medieval conquest.
Very grim. Total breakdown of order.
And amidst all this, Tatikios, the Byzantine general, just leaves.
Slips away. Claims there was a conspiracy against him, says he needs to get reinforcements from the emperor.
But everyone thinks he just abandoned them.
Pretty much. More bad blood between the Franks and Byzantines.
And Bohemond then sets fires in the city.
Yeah, to smoke out people hiding from the fighting. Pilgrims, peasants.
Adharm is horrified, accuses Bohemond of bringing ruin.
Just shows the extreme measures being taken, even damaging the prize they just won.
And then the inevitable happens. Kerboga arrives.
His army, beyond numbering, surrounds the city, besieges the citadel where some Turks are still holding out. The Crusaders are now the besieged, trapped inside Antioch.
Facing an even bigger army than the one they just defeated inside the city. Dire straits.
Utterly dire. And that's when Peter Bartholomew has his vision.
St. Andrew, revealing the location of the Holy Lance buried in St. Peter's Church.
Adhemar is wary at first, but he sees the potential. A sign of God's continuing favor, something to lift the hearts of the army, a standard in battle.
So he allows them to dig.
And incredibly, they find it, or something they believe is it.
The effect is immediate, right? Huge morale boost. Renewed faith.
Massive. And then something truly bizarre happens. Kerboga's army?
They just pull back from the mountain and stop besieging the citadel.
Yeah, inexplicably. They decide to just blockade the whole city and starve the Crusaders out instead. Bohemond immediately credits the lance. A miracle.
But the miracle doesn't stop the starvation inside the city.
Not at all. The famine gets worse, eating leaves, horse blood, picking through dung for undigested grain. Life contracted to sheer survival.
So the lance provides spiritual hope, but not actual food.
Exactly. Underscores that gap between faith and grim reality.
But they don't give up. Adhemar rallies them for one last desperate move.
A final sally. Basically a suicide mission, but he promises martyrdom.
And against all odds, they win.
They sally out, starving, outnumbered, and somehow achieve this extraordinary victory. Kerboga's huge army is routed.
And the sources themselves say contemporary chroniclers couldn't explain it except as a miracle. Even modern historians struggle.
It's one of history's great military puzzles.
So miracles aside for a second, what could have contributed? Psychologically, strategically.
Well, the lance was undeniably a huge psychological factor, turned despair into zealous fury. But you also have to look at Kerboga. His shift in strategy was baffling. Maybe overconfidence. He failed to prepare for a sally, underestimated their desperation.
So maybe a mix. Renewed fervor meets enemy mistakes, meets sheer, cornered animal ferocity.
That seems plausible. A potent, perhaps unique combination. But the ambiguity, that remains.
And in the aftermath, Demetrios feels this crushing guilt, doesn't he? About opening the gates leading to the slaughter.
Yeah. His friend Anna tries to console him, says it was necessary, the Normans can repent for the killing. But Demetrios is shaken.
By the whole thing, the violence, the heresy he uncovered, the maybe miracle, his faith is rocked.
His personal crisis really reflects the whole story, doesn't it? Faith, ambition, desperation, deception, all tangled up.
It makes discerning any clear truth incredibly difficult, even for him, living through it.
Absolutely.
So this whole deep dive into Antioch, it really makes you grapple with some fundamental questions. Faith, ambition, cruelty, conviction.
Yeah, how people seek meaning in desperate times. Sometimes finding profound faith, sometimes falling prey to manipulation or engaging in it.
And like you said, even contemporaries couldn't explain the victory without miracles. Modern historians don't have easy answers either.
We've seen the layers of deception, Mushid's invented rituals, the violence that followed. It makes you wonder about the nature of belief when things get that extreme.
The fact that an entire army could be swayed, potentially, by a manipulated sign or just seize on any sign. It's powerful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thought to leave you with. If even back then, in the Crusade of Antioch, faith could be twisted, truth could be obscured by desperation and hidden agendas, how do we navigate that today? How do we tell genuine insight from calculated deception in our own age with so much information coming at us?
That is the question, isn't it? Something to definitely mull over.